Yes, people, this is a bit of an emergency video. Sorry for not planning this well, but we need to rant. So I needed to get my Argentinian in the house because the World Cup now is confirmed. 2030 will be played in Morocco, Portugal, España, Uruguay, Argentina, Paraguay, and the 2034 World Cup will be played in Saudi Arabia. Now, I think a lot of people want to just blame FIFA and Infantino on this whole mess, and rightfully so. You know, they got to take some blame into this whole situation. For me, I think this is entirely on CONMEBOL and Alejandro Dominguez for being an absolute, sorry for the word, people, a pussy. He's a straight up pussy. This guy has no cojones right now to protect a great institution and organization that is CONMEBOL. People, I just need to ask you this. If 100-year World Cup anniversary, where was the first World Cup played at, Renk?
In Uruguay, Montevideo more specifically, but in Uruguay.
Okay, there we go then. So what would be the ideal location to have the 100-year anniversary World Cup? Oh, it should be played in Uruguay. Now, people can say, Michael, they don't have the facilities. I agree. They don't have all of the stadiums to host the World Cup. Cool. All right. We'll do a dual World Cup or 3 countries. Uruguay, Argentina, Paraguay. There's your solution. But instead, they announced today that the first 3 games will be played first in Uruguay at the Estadio Centenario. Then I think it's Paraguay or Argentina. And then all of the rest of the games, they're going to Europe and Morocco. I mean, what an absolute disgrace it is from CONMEBOL to allow this, right? You can blame FIFA, but this is all on CONMEBOL. Show some guts. Show some backing for your own confederation, for your own countries. But instead, he's like, nope, we'll take the easy way. Just give us the 3 games, and we're cool with it. Renk, what's your raw reaction to this whole situation? I know this is not very well planned, people. I'm very sorry. This is a bit of a rant. Don't worry. There's not going to be a rant in the title because that's BS, clickbait, YouTube stuff. But what's your initial reaction to this? Are you more blaming CONMEBOL on this whole situation, or are you blaming it on FIFA?
Well, the first reaction was obviously that I was very unhappy because getting to host the World Cup is obviously a very special event. It's probably once in a lifetime opportunity that you get in a country that, in the case of Argentina and the surrounding countries, is like the main sport. Is a very passionate thing, and it's rooted in the culture of the countries as well. So hosting the World Cup would have been massive, and yeah, getting only 3 consolation games feels extremely bad. And yeah, I think that the main blame should go to Alejandro Dominguez, the president of CONMEBOL, but also the presidents of the associations themselves, like Claudio Tapia in the AFA, Robert Harrison in the APF, and Ignacio Alonso in the AUF. I think that they also deserve their bit of blame because they are also agreeing to this. And they were the ones that proposed all different kinds of projects that they knew that they couldn't realistically achieve. And yeah, in the end, CONMEBOL just ended up with their backs against the wall because they knew that they didn't have the infrastructure or the money to get the stadiums done in time for the World Cup, and that whatever bid they suggested to FIFA would be rooted only on history, like in nostalgia, basically, because in case of the infrastructure and the stadiums, we weren't really fit to host an entire World Cup. And yeah, the federations are to blame for that, for not being ready and not having the resources necessary to host a World Cup. But like you said, now that we host only 3 games, this puts CONMEBOL away from the schedule of the World Cups. So like the next chance that CONMEBOL is going to have to host a World Cup is going to be like in the 2040s. I wouldn't be surprised if they did it in like 2050 for the 100th centenary and they did it in Brazil again. I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. So like, yeah, it just pushes a World Cup in CONMEBOL very, very far into the future. And it sucks because a centenary World Cup would have been very special.
100%. But I just want to ask you this, because obviously the big issue for a lot of CONMEBOL countries is the stadiums. So realistically, how many stadiums could host a World Cup game in Argentina specifically? Because I think in Uruguay, it could only be, obviously, Estadio Centenario, maybe Peñarol, and maybe Nacional. Yeah. Those are the only 3 in Uruguay. What about in Argentina then?
In Argentina, obviously, the Estadio Monumental is the main one. It just got like a new renovation. It looks beautiful. It's a massive stadium, like 90,000 seats. So it would obviously be one of the main venues. It only needs like a roof or something, and it will be ready for a World Cup. Besides that, One stadium that is in condition right now, I think, is the Hirschi, the Uno Stadium from Estudiantes de La Plata. I think that one is also pretty modern. It looks amazing. It's like for 45,000 fans, I believe. And it also would only need a roof, and I think that it could host group stage games. After that, you start narrowing it down a lot, because there are modern stadiums in like Santiago del Estero and San Luis, but they don't have the capacity. Like they have 20 or 30,000. La Bombonera cannot host a World Cup game in its current state. There are a lot of talks about a renovation for La Bombonera, but they are just mostly barks and no bite, you know. After that, like El Cilindro for Racing, but that's like a
Not
big
really.
maybe.
I've been to that stadium. There is no way they can host a World Cup game. Just
Yeah,
safety-wise, it is impossible.
It would need a massive renovation. So like, not many stadiums, to be fair. Like, and most of them, like in terms of capacity, Argentina is actually quite fine. Like there are a lot of stadiums that surpass 40,000, but the quality of the stadiums is really not there. They would need to undergo like massive renovations, most of them.
So I think that's the biggest issue with this whole conundrum, is that it's basically the stadiums that are hindering from CONMEBOL hosting a World Cup. But I just need to highlight this idiot, right? This idiot Alejandro Dominguez. We dreamed, we believed, and today is a reality. The three stadiums that will host the World Cup game. Oh man, this is such a shameless tweet, Renk. I mean, honestly, like for him especially, right? You know, he's very proud of himself and the work he's done to get even the World Cup to CONMEBOL. But 3 games and you're highlighting just the 3 stadiums. That's it. Like, how shameless behavior can this be from this idiot right now? I mean, I'm really disappointed, and I'm sad for you, for Argentinians. I'm sad for Uruguayans, and I'm sad for Paraguayans, because having a World Cup in those 3 countries would be amazing. It would be honestly like just the flair, everything about it would just be such an amazing World Cup. But you're right, Renk. In the future, with the way things are going, the only country that can host a World Cup is Brazil. That's the only one. Until Argentina can renovate the stadiums, and I don't know how maybe Uruguay could do it with those 3 stadiums and co-host with Brazil or co-host with Argentina in the future. But realistically, it's only Brazil and nothing else. I think this is mostly on CONMEBOL, because CONMEBOL have to do a situation where they have to sort of push these countries. Hey, you got to renovate your stadium if you want to have these big, grandioso events. But it doesn't seem like there's enough pressure from CONMEBOL on the federations to do their own jobs. Do you kind of see where I'm going with that?
Yeah, obviously I agree. But when it comes to renovating stadiums and
it's a lot of money,
like infrastructure, because you don't only need stadiums, you need like airports, hotels, roads, you need like trains and stuff. And when it comes to all of that, you are not only pushing into the federations, you're pushing into the governments of the country themselves. And that is something that, you know, doesn't usually sit well. Like the federations and the governments are often very opposing each other, especially now in Argentina. Like the AFA and the current government don't get along like at all. The government is trying to push privatization of clubs, which the AFA is very much against. And yeah, the current government doesn't like to spend a lot of funding into infrastructure right now. So like if they ask the current government of Argentina to renovate stadiums, hotels, roads and stuff, like it would never happen.
Yeah, it would never happen.
And like it's very hard for CONMEBOL to kind of push that into the federations, but I agree that they could have at least tried a bit more. And at least, you know, CONMEBOL, with the huge amount of money that they have, we know how much the prices of the Copa Libertadores and the Copa Sudamericana have increased, because they actually get a lot of revenue nowadays. CONMEBOL does have the money. If they really wanted to push that, they could give them to the federations and try to renovate the stadiums, but they clearly didn't want to spend that kind of money. And yeah, nothing gets done in the end. Like even that part, the 4th stadium, actually the 3rd stadium after the Centenario and the one from River Plate, it doesn't even exist yet. It's a render of a stadium that they wanted to build in Paraguay, in Luque, like right next to the CONMEBOL headquarters. They would call it like the CONMEBOL Stadium.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
No, it doesn't even exist yet. It's just a fictional imagination that they're having of a project that they dream of. Yeah, that's what we're living off, like promises the entire time, but nothing actually gets done.
But I think my biggest takeaway from this, and we're going to wrap up the video here, people, because it's a bit of an emergency. CONMEBOL is a mockery now. I think that's my biggest takeaway. That's the sad part. Like, South American football has history in football. History, man. Like, you know me. I love CONMEBOL football. I cover the World Cup qualifiers. I mean, CONMEBOL World Cup qualifiers are going to be destroyed for 2030, by the way. I don't know how that mess is going to work out with only 7 nations competing in it. Maybe Bolivia will finally qualify with all the home games, basically. But it's just a mockery. Like, everybody's just looking at South American football and saying, you only get 3 games? You only get 3 games. That's it for you guys. Like, come, you could do better. But instead, we'll have the 3 games here, rest in Europe and Morocco, and we're fine with it. I think that just is a mockery on Alejandro Dominguez. Everybody, you Renk, every Uruguayan, every Paraguayan should go to the CONMEBOL headquarters and get him sacked immediately. Immediately, because there's no way this can be allowed. Okay, if you don't get all the games, fair enough. At least get 1 group, 2 groups, 3 groups. Instead, you get 3 games. I mean, logistically, it's going to be a effing nightmare for this entire World Cup in 2030. But I'm just so sad for all my South Americans because you deserve better. But unfortunately, CONMEBOL have other ideas on this whole fiasco, man. It's just a fiasco with this. I don't know how this is going to be sorted out. But do you see ever in your lifetime that Argentina are going to host a World Cup? Like, solely Argentina, Uruguay. Do you think that will ever happen?
No, I don't see it. Like, especially now with the expanded format, it just feels impossible. It would have to, so many things would have to change in the way that the whole country and the footballing ecosystem works, so that there is enough money flowing around that you actually get to renovate the stadiums and the infrastructure to a point where you can feasibly host a World Cup. We have the stadiums, like they are fine in terms of capacity. We have the fans, we have the passion, everything. You actually need the money, and you need those stadiums to actually get renovated to a standard that FIFA demands. And I just don't see it happening. And with the expanded format, it only gets harder and harder because you have to host more people, more games, more teams, and it's just, I think it's impossible by this point.
That's kind of sad, bro. I can't lie. So
the
only World Cup in South America since 1978, when you last hosted it, is Brazil. That's the only country that's hosted a World Cup. And I think it's going to be that way for the next probably 30, 40 years, in my opinion. Maybe we'll see a co-host World Cup like Chile, Argentina, Paraguay, maybe something like that in the future. Who knows? But CONMEBOL, you guys are an absolute disgrace. That's all I have to say. People, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Remember to subscribe to Renk's channel as well. His link will be in the description down below. Mini rant. I'm done with CONMEBOL. F these guys.